Lowe again. Mention of our very special guest today should bring back pleasant memories of many of Universal Pictures' youthful musicals, one of W.C. Field's classic comedies, and even New York's famous Copacabana. Please join us in welcoming the talented and congenial Gloria Jean. And now, here's your man of the half hour, Skip E. Lowe.
When I was a little boy out here in Hollywood, I came out here with my mother when I was 9 years old, and I did a lot of films as at Monogram for Maurice Duke. And do you know something? My very, very first, I think, was Jane Powell, Song of the Open Road, and it was picking oranges. Didn't say anything, but just picking oranges, making singing, carrying on the stepladder. And today, I have a lady that brings back memories of old Hollywood to me in the 40s. Remember Deanna Durbin? Well, this lady is Gloria Jean. How are you, Gloria?
I'm just fine, thank you.
Gloria Jean. Boy, 10 years old or
11.
11
Actually,
years old?
11, yes, yes.
When you went to, first of all, you've been singing since you were 3.
That's right.
You're from Stratton, Pennsylvania. You're born in Buffalo?
That's right. Buffalo, New York.
New York.
Uh-huh.
But growing up in Stratton, you worked at theater, a very, very famous theater there. You did vaudeville.
Mm-hmm.
Your father was, he had a store?
Yes,
What
a
kind of
music store. It was a music store.
Really?
Yes.
Was your mother in the business? And your
No, but nobody really sang or danced or anything, but my dad did have a music store.
He did, huh?
Yes.
Now, what Stratton, that theater in Stratton you worked, you did a Capitol Theater.
Capitol.
That's
yes.
Great. Is that right?
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Very famous theater in Stratton.
Yes.
Vaudeville.
Yes.
They had those vaudeville shows and movies and vaudeville. Tell me about that. You were singing and dancing and
Yes, well, actually singing was what I was doing.
Right.
And I would come out and do my little song. And
how old were you then?
5 years old.
5 years old?
Yes, yes. And then my voice, of course, changed as I got a little older into a coloratura soprano.
And then I think your piano player, your voice teacher, took you to New York?
That's right.
What happened when you went to New York?
Well, she found out that Joe Pasternak was auditioning.
The producer?
For, yes, he discovered Deanna Durbin. So he was looking for a girl to star in her first movie, The Underpup.
The Underpup, yes.
And my teacher saw this, grabbed me, and took me over for the audition. I went in, and of course they had many girls there for the same part.
Right.
And he said, I want to hear you sing. And I said, they started the piano. I said, it's out of tune. I can't sing today.
The piano was out of tune?
Yes. So Joe said, I like this kid. She has spunk. He said, can you come back tomorrow? We'll tune the piano. I said, yes. So I went back the next day and sang the Bell Song from Lakme, which is an aria.
Beautiful.
And they said, well, we'll let you know in a couple of weeks. We've got to think about this. We like the way you look. We like the way you sing. Well, you know how that is. When people see you, might as well forget it.
I understand you didn't have any makeup on. You
no,
one of the girls
I had little
walked in there?
pigtails, and I didn't have any makeup.
How come you didn't put any makeup? That's Gloria Jean?
Because I was so young, and all the other little girls were made up with curls and
Following
bows
Shirley
and-
Temple, looking
Yes,
like Shirley Temple.
Exactly.
But you didn't look like Shirley
I
Temple.
didn't look like her.
You just came in looking like yourself.
The way I was, and I think that impressed them more. So, sure enough, in 2 weeks' time, they called me and said, get ready. You're coming out to star in your first picture. Can you imagine how we felt as a family?
Right.
I mean, I loved, that was a wish for me.
Right.
And
Did
sure
your mother,
enough,
father all went together? or
no,
what?
my mother went first.
That's
with
like
me.
me when I was a kid.
Yes.
My mother and I
Yeah.
just went here.
My mother wanted me to be an opera. That was her dream. But
Oh,
since
really?
this kind of bowled us over, why
She
we
didn't want you
came
to get in
out.
films at all?
No, she wasn't impressed. But once we came out to Hollywood,
Right.
and she saw how things developed for me and how the studio got me behind me.
This
you
is
know.
Universal.
Universal.
That was the
And they were
studio.
so marvelous. Everybody was so marvelous to me. So, and I loved it.
The co-star of your movie was Robert Cummings.
Yes. A great cast. They had C. Aubrey Smith, Robert Cummings,
Beulah
Nan Gray,
Beulah
Beulah Bondi.
Bondi. God.
Yes. I mean, tremendous. And all these people helped me
Uh-huh.
with my acting and kind of gave me an insight on what to do.
You have 3 sisters?
Yes.
There are
yes,
3.
yes.
Any of them in the business? You're the only?
No. One was a dancer and they wanted her to dance, but she wasn't interested.
Uh-huh.
They weren't interested.
They weren't at all.
I was the only one that loved it.
Gloria Jean, when you arrived at Universal, doing your first movie with these wonderful people as a little girl, how old were you then? 12?
11,
11?
12, yes, around that age. Can you
How did-
imagine how I felt?
How did you feel? That's good.
Well, because I used to watch movies myself when I was in Pennsylvania,
That's
to
Stratton.
walk in,
Yeah.
yes, to walk in to the studio and see them actually shooting pictures
Yes.
and seeing all the stars and seeing Deanna Durbin,
Uh-huh.
I almost passed out. They had to kind of hold me up, you know.
You met Deanna.
And yes,
Uh-huh.
and I was so impressed and so thrilled, and it was like a fairy tale.
How was she to react to you, Gloria, as a newcomer coming to Hollywood?
Well, I think, to tell you the truth, I was sort of, you know, a singer too.
Yes, that's what I mean.
And there was a little bit of friction there
Right.
because I was following in her footsteps.
Right, right.
And it was a little strange at first.
But the opening of the film premiered in your hometown.
In my hometown.
At the
yes.
theater there.
And they rented a train, a whole train.
A train from Hollywood to...
From Hollywood to Pennsylvania, and Ed Sullivan was one of the newspapermen on the train.
And Dorothy Kilgallen, I
yeah,
understand.
she was there. And it was thrilling to get out of the train station.
Right.
And see close the mines down in Scranton.
They did? Yeah.
All the mines. And the
coal
men were all the
mines,
coal mine. They were there with their hats and their little
love
lights.
it.
And the mayor...
You're a coal miner's daughter, aren't you?
The mayor gave me some roses, and they trampled him, and all the roses were stems when he finally, you know, handed them to me. But it was incredible. I have many wonderful pictures of all of this.
Oh, that's great. I
Yes.
wish you'd have brought a couple right now.
I should have.
Darn it. Tell me, that Billy Gilbert was in that film too, wasn't
Yes, yes.
he? God, what a movie that was.
Yes.
Then, second film. What was your second film?
The second film was A Little Bit of Heaven. It was a sequel to The Underpup.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So they had my uncles in the same cast, only Bob Stack was
Robert Stack
was added to the cast. Yes.
Was that his first movie, you think?
Yes, it was.
Robert Stack.
Then after that, he did some. I think he did a few with Deanna.
Because you did 39 films.
Yes, I did.
You know, looking back in your career, 39 films. I'm thinking, where are these films?
Well,
I'm going to go down a couple lines where they are. I mean, really. I mean, If I Had My Way. Who was that in? Was that
Bing
with
Crosby?
Bing Crosby.
Yes, it was.
Bing Crosby working with that great man. He played a priest in that? Or what?
No, he didn't play a priest.
He usually
but
does.
he was such a nice man.
Really?
And all his boys were little. They were little babies. And they'd come, you know, Dixie, his wife, would bring him on the set. All of them. And Bing was special. I really have only nice things to say about Bing.
I'm looking at you, Gloria, thinking about the day you worked with Bing Crosby.
Yes.
Must have been a great thrill.
It was
Because he
for
was a
me.
big star.
And do you know that Bing could not read a note of music?
He didn't really?
I couldn't either. So what we'd do is we'd listen to the
I
song.
think Susanna Foster didn't either.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
And Bing would listen once, and so would I, and then he'd say, "Are you ready?" Yes. And we'd both sing together. And that's how, you know, we never could read a note of music. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it is. But the voice is there. The great,
voice was
glorious
there.
voice of Gloria
Yes.
Jean. I mean, then you came out and you did, what else did you do? What's cooking?
That was a little later down the line.
But you worked with W.C. Fields.
Well,
Come
what
on.
can I say?
Tell me about working with W.C. Fields.
Actually, you know, I was 14 at the time.
Now you're 14.
Yes.
How did you handle this career in Hollywood from 11 to 14 and then?
Very well. I have my family to thank for that, because they were real simple. My dad was a farmer, my mom and my sisters, and when I wasn't at the studio, I was just a regular girl.
Were you really?
I had to do all the things that my other sisters
Who's some
did.
of the stars that you went to school with? Some of the little
Ann
kids.
Blythe.
Oh, I loved her.
Sabu. Do you remember
Sabu, of course,
with the turban?
The elephant,
Yes.
the elephant boy.
Yes. Donald O'Connor.
Donald, yes.
Elizabeth
I went to school
Taylor.
with them. Did you go to HPS?
No.
No, 'cause
they
I
had
did.
a schoolhouse on the set, on the lot.
Oh.
And Elizabeth came in for a while, and
Elizabeth Taylor?
very shy.
Is this at Universal?
Yes, it was.
I see.
When she was first starting out.
Yes.
And anytime anyone would come into the schoolhouse, she'd hide under the table.
Really?
And the teacher said, "I wonder if she'll ever get over this shyness."
Elizabeth Taylor was
Well,
hiding?
yes.
Really?
Yeah,
How about
she
those
was,
beautiful violet eyes? Those
Oh,
beautiful eyes.
oh, even as a child, she was beautiful.
That black hair. And the
Yes,
eyes.
beautiful girl.
Elizabeth, you're sitting there telling me, Gloria Jean, Elizabeth Taylor was shy?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And they worried about her because they thought, well, maybe, I hope she gets over this. Well, she did.
Was she
didn't
smart in school?
Very smart.
Yeah.
Yes.
You all did your homework?
Yes, it was a wonderful school. We went to all the museums and the art galleries, and people think if you're in pictures you don't get much education, but that isn't true. We all did.
You know, it's my favorite movie you did. It was one of my favorites. You didn't sing in this film. It's Destiny. You
Destiny was one of
my favorite films. I don't know what that's. I'm going to ask you. You played a blind girl in this.
Yes.
Oh, touching movie.
Alan Curtis and Frank Craven.
Yes.
I read that script. I fell apart. I thought, if I can't do this, I don't know what I'm going to do. And they tested many girls for that part. And they said, you know, I don't know why Gloria Jean can't test for this.
Right.
So I thought, good, my chance is coming.
Good. Acting.
So I tested for it. And Charles Boyer was the producer at the time. So I'm in the commissary having lunch, and he walked in and he said, by the way, we'll be starting production in a few days. You did get the part.
Charles Boyer.
You imagine how I felt.
Oh, great.
Oh, I was just, I couldn't believe it. And of course, they made a full-length feature out of it.
They certainly did.
It was originally supposed to be in Flesh and Fantasy.
Oh.
But they thought the film was too long, so they cut my sequence out, which broke my heart. Then they made it into a full-length movie.
Full-length movie.
Wasn't as impressive, I didn't think. They should have left it in the.
You think so?
Know, oh yes, but I got to do that, and it gave me a chance to act instead of singing all the time.
Instead of singing,
which I enjoyed tremendously. So.
Tell me about what is your favorite film? What was it?
The first one, The Underpup.
Really?
Yes.
Is it because?
Because it was the first one.
I see.
And I was wide-eyed and learning about acting, and they wouldn't let me see anything that I did because they were afraid that I might lose the natural ability that I had. So
you were very natural. Your hair was very simple, very little makeup, like the girl next door.
That's what they wanted. Yes.
Universal.
Yes.
That's what they did. What has been the hardest for Gloria Jean in your career? What has been the hardest, darling?
Well, that's a good question. I think because I loved what I was doing so much, I was influenced by a lot of the wrong people. I had an agent that said, you've had enough of the film. Now, you're going to go on personal appearance tours.
Right.
So we'll get you out of your contract. And he said, we'll go out on the road. And I had a very bad feeling about it. I didn't want to do that, but I was a little girl.
Yes.
And my family, they didn't know too much. So you left Hollywood.
That's when you left.
So I left to go on tour.
Right.
And although it was wonderful and very successful, you know, I paired with my movies, and then they had the vaudeville shows and everything.
Right.
But unfortunately, when I came back, everybody I knew was gone. The people I helped turned the other cheek. It's very tragic. And I thought, how can things change after Only 2 years of being on the road.
Only 2 years?
2 years.
And you mean people that you've helped
that I helped, that said, well, I'm, you know, they slept me off. And it broke my heart, so I thought, well, there must be other things for me beside the motion pictures industry. I really feel that if I could have stayed, they didn't want me to leave Universal, because they had other plans for me.
Because you signed a 9-year contract.
That's right.
You came there and signed a 9-year contract.
So that's actually that was a really, really bad thing for me to have to leave when I think I would have really started in a very big career if I could have stayed. I feel that way.
Did you write a book?
No, but believe it or not,
Gloria
I
Jean,
am.
you're sitting there, now you're going to do it.
Well, I have all this tremendous memorabilia.
Right.
That you wouldn't believe what I have. And my idea is to write a book about my life in Hollywood, my days in growing up in the industry.
As a child.
As a child.
Right.
And I think that my pictures will tell my story. Because they go all the way up from the very beginning, right up to, you know, some of the wonderful things that I did.
Working with W.C. Fields, let's get back.
Oh,
W.C. Fields. You've got that smile on your face.
Well, it was an experience because I was warned a long time ago that,
that
before we even made, yes. And the school teacher said, if I catch him once taking a drink in front of you, that's it. We closed on the set.
And how old were you then at the time?
14.
14. So he'd drink in front of you then.
So he couldn't, but what he did was he put up a folding screen. And he had a little man in a white coat go behind the screen. He was drinking.
Yeah.
But I never saw him. However, one time he did come out, and we had a close-up, and he took this little glass, and the teacher said, "There you go." She said, I knew I'd catch you. Relax. He said, "This is Listerine, my dear." Well, and it was true, because that's what it was.
It was?
Yes.
To kill the smell, darling.
That's
it was
right.
Just
that's right.
Get that smell out of
Actually, he was supposed to hate children, but he really...
Did he really?
He liked me.
He liked
me. He invited me to his home, and my mother, he loved my mother. He used to say, "I don't care about anybody else. Got Gloria's mother, so I can talk to her." So there was a bit of sadness about him that I can't explain. I asked him one day why he didn't eat. Honey, there are better things to do. No, I never saw
he was so
him
heavy. He didn't eat much?
But maybe he did, but I never saw him eat. But he drank heavily.
Was he fun to work with, though?
Yes. Funnier off-screen.
Off-screen?
Yes.
Really?
He was supposed to follow the script, and he'd do his own little things, and of course they couldn't use it in the movie.
Right.
But he had everybody laughing, and I enjoyed it. I really did.
I want to tell you about, ask you about Universal Studios. Those days, Universal, the commissary, and the must be all these stars.
It was a fairyland, and the people in it were wonderful. And there were your temperamental stars like Maria Montez. Do you remember Maria?
Well, Maria Montez is Latin.
With her throwing her wigs around and everything. But see,
you used to see her
another thing.
Did you see her?
Oh yes, oh
really?
Yes. And something that fascinated me was going down and watching Jack Pierce make up Frankenstein and the Wolfman and all those. I mean, it was.
You used to watch all these little.
Oh, and I'd just watch him do it, and I was fascinated. And I'd watch them score music to pictures, which was, as a little girl, another one of my pastimes. I loved that.
Working with Bing Crosby, working with Mel Torme. Here's another great actor who's ill right now.
And I understand he's coming along.
Is he coming along?
He's talking
God
again.
Bless him. I'm happy.
We did 2 movies together.
You did.
Yes.
You did Moonlight
in Vermont.
Moonlight in Vermont.
And then The Ghost Catchers with Olsen and Johnson, and Mel was in that. And I'm invited to a lot of parties now. I'm retired now, by the way.
You are?
Yes.
Come on.
Yes. And so I'm enjoying life, and also being invited to all these marvelous parties that I never had time to go to.
But you got married when you came back. You got married later on, and you got married several times.
Don't
did you
talk,
how many?
just once.
Just once.
Then
you went to Oregon.
Yes, I did.
Okay. But you have a young man.
I do. I have
a son.
Son that I'm very proud of.
Really?
Very proud of.
Is he in the business at home?
Well, he did play guitar, and he cut an album, and my garage was his rehearsal. It was rock music. I wasn't too impressed, But that kid was really talented. But what happened to him? His name is Angelo, and one day he said, "You know, Moms," he said, "I don't want to do this. I'd rather write music. I'd rather be in the background." He said, I don't like this type of thing." Well, I was happy, because I wasn't too thrilled about that anyway. But I thought,
what do you
let
think
him
of
go.
the business today, Gloria Jean?
Isn't it different? Isn't it different
Isn't it different?
was
These
in my
young
day?
kids today?
Yes.
When you see, how do you feel when you see your movies on television?
Well, it's a big thrill to me. You know, at that age when I made them, I wasn't impressed. I didn't like what I did, and I thought, oh, and I was very critical. When I watch them now, I just can't believe.
Because, you know why?
So
there were masters who were doing
thrilling.
them.
It was thrilling.
It was. There was
And my son watches them.
How does he
and
feel?
loves them.
Does he?
So that's a big thrill to me. You know.
Where
But
do you live
the
in?
industry
You live in
is-
Hollywood now?
No, I live in the Valley.
In the Valley?
Yeah, I did live in Hollywood, but Canoga Park, actually. And I've been there 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
You still see people like Ann Blythe and
All the time.
these stars?
All the
Your
time.
friends
At
who
these
grew up?
parties, yes.
Really?
Yes. And it's wonderful. We
What do you-
reminisce.
What do you talk about when you see those people?
The old days.
Because I just saw you at the Thalians
The
Ball.
Aliens, wasn't that
It was-
fun?
They honored all you glamour
And the
ladies.
American Cinema Awards.
Yes,
I went
yes,
there and
yes.
I saw all these marvelous people. Edith Fellows, you remember
Oh, I love Edith. Of course, she was a child star too.
And
She worked with Shirley Temple.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and also Sybil Jason. She worked with Shirley
Sybil,
Temple
yes,
too.
of course, yes. Give me 3 words to describe Gloria Jean. Just give me 3 words to describe you now. How do you feel about it?
Well, you know, I really feel like I'm a legend.
Sure.
I really do. I feel that way because of the fact that I work with wonderful people. And I loved doing what I did. This is the most important thing of all.
You were truly a movie star.
Yes, I talk to people today that don't like what they're doing. They don't like what the films they're in. They're always wanting more money.
Right.
This was not a top priority for me.
You guys, the money
I
wasn't...
just know. I loved it. I fell in love with
Look at
everyone I
Betty
worked
Davis.
with.
Darling, Betty
Yes.
Davis made very little money.
Yes.
A big superstar, Joan
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
And these people are very little, and they're demanding millions. How
Well, and
dare
they're
them?
getting millions
And
today.
yes, they are.
yes.
And do you think they're worth it? I don't.
No,
Anyway.
and I also think that I'm very proud to say that I was in the movies then, in those years, because they were very special.
So looking back of your life,
Yes.
you would do it the same way.
Exactly, exactly. I'm
There's
very
no
proud.
no
I'm very
regrets
proud.
for you,
Oh,
Gloria
no,
Jean?
No,
Really?
no regrets.
Because you grew up as a child. You don't have.
I
any-
know that, but I loved it as a child.
Oh.
And that makes the difference, you know, big difference.
I want to show a clip to my audience, you as a child in a film, and I just want them to see how wonderful and what a glorious voice Gloria Jean had, and still do, probably. Let's show this clip.
Stranger things have happened. This could be the night, and this glow around us could be heaven inside. For anything is possible beneath the moon above. Stranger things have happened.
Ann, did you take care of those flowers?
Steve! Excuse me, Mr. Hunt. I must have been daydreaming.
Well, I'm sorry I woke you up.
Oh. Mr. Hunt, there's a call for you.
Who is it?
Mr. Anatole Murphy of Hollywood.
Oh, don't tell me.
That was great. Thank you. You know, looking at that film and seeing yourself must feel good. Must feel real good.
Oh, yes.
I want to ask you, Gloria Jean, what is your proudest moment? Has been the proudest moment in your life? What has been the proudest moment?
I think that when I went back to Pennsylvania for the premiere of my first movie, and I got up on stage and looked around and saw everybody, all my friends, my school, my teachers, and they brought me flowers and up on the stage. I was so proud.
Oh, that's great.
Because I never thought that anything could
I want to
be
ask you also about your life has been ups and downs and having a good
Yes.
time, and you know, but W.C. Fields you had a great time with. But Carmen Miranda and what's his name? The one is in the Copacabana.
Andy Russell.
Andy Russell.
Groucho Marx.
Groucho Marx is the one I'm thinking of. Now tell me, working with Groucho, was he fun to work with?
Yes. Now, Groucho was very quiet.
That's what I heard.
Very quiet.
That's what I heard, yeah.
But very concerned about me because a lot, at that time I was growing up.
Right.
And working with Steve Cochran. And he sort of took care of me.
Ah.
You know, Groucho said, now listen now, you're growing up in this business. And I want you to be very careful.
What's your last film? What was your last film?
Ladies' Man.
Ladies' Man. Who was in that?
Everybody in the world, Jerry Lewis's movie.
Jerry Lewis?
Yes.
You said something about Jerry Lewis, your son and Jerry Lewis. What happened there? Tell me about or was it Jerry? No, it wasn't Jerry Lewis. It was Sammy Davis Jr.
Yes.
Your son, Sammy Davis met your son.
Yes.
What happened?
Well,
he wanted him to get into business, or
yeah,
what?
well, he was quite taken with my
Sammy?
son. Oh, yes.
Really?
I worked with Sammy, by the way. And he just fell in love with my son. And he said, no, we've got to groom him. We've got to do things with him.
To become an actor.
And become an actor.
And you didn't want that?
No, not really, because he had too many other things going. He was interested in other things.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's very, very sweet. Gloria Jean, it's been a delight here today, interviewing one of the legends of Hollywood.
Thank you.
And you are a legend, I must tell you. I really enjoy talking to you. Your life right now is, you're going to do your book?
I'm going to do my book, and it's just a wonderful life. It's peaceful, and
what you're calling your book?
I'm not sure. I don't have a title yet, but it'll come to me because I have collaborators.
So you've had a
working
good
with
time
me.
here in Hollywood.
Oh,
huh?
Mark.